Ahsoka Tano's world shifted violently in a single instant, a shudder of energy tearing through the void where she had been navigating a routine Force meditation. One moment she was amidst the familiar chaos of a Clone Wars battlefield, her dual lightsabers slicing through shadows with precise fluidity. The next, stars stretched and twisted in ways her senses could not immediately reconcile. She felt a tug beneath her feet, a sense of falling without gravity, of drifting without air. The Force, normally a reliable companion, whispered confusion, its currents strangely altered, as if the galaxy she knew had been peeled away to reveal something alien, vast and unbound. When she finally landed, the ground beneath her was not a war-torn city or the rocky plains of Mandalore, but a strange metallic platform, smooth and humming with energy, smelling faintly of ozone and machinery. Above her, the sky was black and dotted with stars unfamiliar to her eyes, stars that did not belong to the systems she had known. Ahsoka rose, her dual lightsabers already ignited instinctively, the white-blue blades humming with life. She felt the familiar thrill of connection to the Force, yet it was different here. It pulsed and danced in erratic patterns around her, reacting to technology she did not understand and to beings she could not yet see. The hum of engines, not starships she recognized, filled the air, and she sensed life, dozens of conscious presences moving in rhythm with the machine beneath her. She did not know it yet, but she had landed on the Normandy, the flagship of Commander Shepard, in a universe far removed from her own. The transition from one galaxy to another had left her at full power, though disoriented. Her combat reflexes were sharp, her Force abilities intact, but the unfamiliar physics and technology required her to tread carefully. From the corridor ahead, a series of steps approached, and Ahsoka's instincts flared. She could feel tension, the readiness to respond to threats. She crouched, blending with the shadows cast by the sleek metallic walls, her lightsabers ready. Moments later, a squad of Normandy crew members appeared, each with weapons drawn but cautious, unsure of what they were confronting. Gurus Vicarian, his sniper rifle trained subtly at her midsection, tilted his head. He had encountered a wide array of aliens, some hostile, some cooperative, but none with the aura she radiated. Beside him, Miranda Lawson and Tali Zora observed, their eyes narrowing at the energy she exuded, a strange mix of life force and power that did not belong in this galaxy. Ahsoka's voice was calm but firm, tinged with caution. "I mean no harm. I do not know where I am or what galaxy this is." She spoke in basic, her words flowing smoothly, but with an undertone that communicated both authority and need for trust. Shepard, standing slightly back from the others, studied her carefully. The Normandy had dealt with unexpected threats before, but this was unlike anything in their records. This woman, or alien, as she would have been classified by standard protocols, moved with precision, balance, and confidence that spoke of extensive combat training. The hum of her dual lightsabers cut through the silence, a living energy that seemed almost alive, resonating in the enclosed space. "Identify yourself," Shepard commanded, hands visible but ready. "You're not a collector. You're not Cerberus. Who are you?" "My name is Ahsoka Tano," she replied, still crouched, eyes sweeping the room for signs of danger. "I was pulled here by forces beyond my understanding. I seek only safety and clarity. I am a warrior, yes, but I do not wish conflict." Her ears, attuned to subtleties of tone and intention, caught hesitation in Gurus and curiosity in Tali, and she adjusted her posture slightly, non-threatening but alert. She sensed the calculations behind every movement, the hidden intelligence evaluating her potential threat level. In this moment, the Force itself hummed around her, guiding her understanding of the crew's intent. Shepard stepped closer, gauging her reaction. "Normandy is under Cerberus jurisdiction, but I make the decisions aboard this ship. If you're telling the truth, you're safe for now. But you'll need to prove that you're not a threat." Shepard's voice carried weight, the authority of command tempered by the openness necessary for diplomacy. Ahsoka inclined her head slightly, understanding the unspoken terms. She could not simply assert her power. She had to demonstrate restraint and offer a reason for her presence that aligned with the Normandy's survival. The initial tension eased slightly as Ahsoka lowered her lightsabers, though her grip remained ready. She sensed that the crew relied on technology rather than the Force, that their powers came from a different source, biotics and weapons. But that did not diminish their intelligence or adaptability. She had trained for situations where opponents had overwhelming numbers or advanced technology. She would learn quickly the properties of these weapons and the principles of this galaxy's physics. Yet she also understood the subtle, dangerous possibility of misinterpretation. One wrong move could provoke a firefight she had no desire to begin. "Can you understand what we say?" Tali asked cautiously, stepping closer with her Omni tool activated. Her tone was professional, but curiosity laced her words. "Yes," Ahsoka replied. "Your language is unfamiliar in sound, but your meaning carries clearly to my mind. The Force allows me perception beyond mere sound." She tilted her head, noting the soft whirring of the Omni tool, the lights blinking rhythmically on her visor. The crew exchanged glances, Shepard's brow furrowed. A Force sensitive who could perceive through technology and foreign languages? That could be an asset or a liability depending on her intentions. Shepard gestured to the empty corridor. "Come with us. We'll assess your situation in a secure area. No weapons and no tricks. You follow our rules while you're on this ship." Ahsoka moved gracefully, walking into view fully, keeping her lightsabers at her side but ready. The crew followed, maintaining distance, observing every detail of her movements. She adapted quickly, sensing the minimal disturbance she caused to the Normandy's environment, understanding the flow of air, the vibration of engines, the faint electric hum running through the walls. In the Normandy's observation deck, Shepard allowed Ahsoka a brief moment to collect herself. She gazed out the panoramic viewport at the galaxy beyond, strange constellations stretching across darkness that she could not name. Her mind, trained in navigating star charts and hyperspace routes, raced to identify patterns, to reconcile this new celestial configuration with known Force currents. She realized that while the Force was present, it was altered here. The energy of this universe flowed differently, its currents disrupted by technology and mass concentrations she could not immediately interpret. Miranda approached carefully, her expression a mix of curiosity and authority. "You're strong," she said bluntly. "I don't know what you are, but whatever you're capable of, it's unusual. Not quite biotic. Not exactly tech. We've seen a lot aboard this ship, but this is new." Ahsoka inclined her head, absorbing the assessment. "I am skilled in combat strategy and the Force, a power that flows through all living beings in my galaxy. Here, I am learning that your technology and biotic fields interact differently with that energy. I do not intend to dominate or manipulate. I seek only understanding." She studied the crew, reading intentions as best she could. Shepard, Garrus, and Tali were evaluating her, measuring risk against potential gain. Shepard spoke again. "You'll need to demonstrate that, Ahsoka. The Normandy doesn't entertain unverified threats. You follow our orders, you prove your loyalty. We have missions coming up, and you'll need to pull your weight or leave." "I will comply," she said, her voice steady. She understood the subtle test being imposed. It was not simply obedience, but a demonstration of adaptability, control, and alignment with their operational ethics. Her moral code, honed over years of war, matched her new circumstances. She could integrate without compromising her principles, but she would also retain autonomy, a balance she knew was critical. Over the next hours, she explored the Normandy under supervision. The crew guided her through the bridge, engineering bays, and medical facilities, each environment unfamiliar, yet quickly understood through her perceptive Force awareness. She noted the presence of biotic amplifiers, shields, and weapons arrays, calculating how her abilities could interact with them. Shepard demonstrated a basic combat simulation, allowing Ahsoka to adapt her lightsaber techniques against moving holographic targets with energy fields mimicking biotic attacks. She adjusted her movements, incorporating the recoil and mass of unfamiliar technology, her reflexes instinctively compensating for the new environment. Later, Shepard introduced her to the Normandy's tactical systems, explaining the collector threat and the ship's current objectives. Ahsoka listened, absorbing data at a speed informed both by her innate intelligence and her Force-enhanced comprehension. She recognized patterns of strategy, command hierarchy, and the interplay between crew abilities. Her mind, trained for battlefield improvisation, began mapping contingencies, how she could assist in boarding operations, counter biotic attacks, and complement the Normandy's arsenal. By the time evening approached in this ship's artificial day cycle, the initial tension had eased. Ahsoka had demonstrated restraint, understanding, and compatibility, though Shepard and the crew remained cautiously observant. She could feel the subtle vibrations of loyalty, the readiness of the crew to accept her if she proved herself in action, and the latent curiosity about her Force powers. In her mind, the galaxy was no longer simply a foreign landscape. It was a stage for adaptation, diplomacy, and combat excellence, one she could navigate if she remained disciplined and aware. As she stood on the observation deck, gazing at the swirling lights of nearby star systems, she allowed herself a moment of introspection. She was far from home, yet she had survived worse: battlefields, betrayals, and the moral ambiguity of the Clone Wars. Here, in this new galaxy, her purpose would be tested again. She would have to forge alliances, confront threats unlike any she had faced, and navigate a moral landscape defined by human, alien, and technological imperatives. The Force whispered possibilities, pathways she could not yet see, but her instincts told her that her arrival on the Normandy was no accident. Somewhere across the stars, her presence had altered events that Shepard and crew could not yet understand. She was a wild card in a galaxy already teetering on the edge of interstellar conflict. Every step she took, every decision she made, would ripple across space and time, influencing outcomes she could not predict. And yet, she was ready. If you want to see more characters enter the Mass Effect galaxy, hit that subscribe button and drop the name of a character you'd want to see in the comments below. With that thought, she allowed herself to focus. Tomorrow, she would train, adapt, and prove herself. Tonight, she would observe. The Normandy was her new temporary home, and the crew, warriors, strategists, and survivors, would determine if she belonged. And Ahsoka Tano, former Jedi Padawan and seasoned warrior, had never been one to shy away from proving her worth. The following morning, the Normandy was alive with movement, the soft hum of engines and occasional blips of console alerts forming a rhythm that Ahsoka quickly attuned to. She had spent the night studying schematics of the ship, tracing the flow of power through the reactors and shields, noting the locations of escape pods, weapon stations, and security nodes. While this was not a battlefield in the traditional sense, she recognized it as a different kind of war, the war of information, control, and coordination. Shepard had allowed her limited access to the ship's tactical holomap, where she could visualize the relative positions of every crew member, the layout of enemy vessels, and potential points of entry and exit. The Force heightened her awareness, bridging gaps in understanding the unfamiliar technology, allowing her to anticipate potential dangers with a clarity she had rarely experienced, even on active war zones in her own galaxy. Her first training session began with Tali, who had set up a simulation that mimicked small-scale combat scenarios. The challenge was not only to test Ahsoka's reflexes, but also to see how she adapted her lightsaber combat against biotic-enhanced defenses. Tali's holographic targets emitted biotic fields that pushed and pulled with varying intensity, simulating the unpredictable forces that biotic enemies could unleash. Ahsoka flowed through the sequence effortlessly, redirecting the energy fields with precise Force nudges while simultaneously disarming and redirecting incoming blasts. The simulation was designed to test the limits of coordination between the Normandy crew and her abilities, and by the end of the session, it was clear she was more than capable. Garrus, observing from aside, raised an eyebrow, impressed but wary. Her speed and adaptability were not something the crew had ever encountered. "Not bad," Garrus commented, voice low. "But you'll need to learn timing. Biotics are unpredictable. They don't always behave like standard physics." Ahsoka nodded, her focus unwavering. I understand. In my galaxy, the Force can be as unpredictable as a biotic surge. I can adapt. It is similar, yet different. Her observation was precise, analytical, and her words carried no arrogance, just the clarity of experience. Shepard, watching from behind, considered the implications. If Ahsoka could reliably integrate her abilities with the crew's biotic powers, she could become an invaluable asset, capable of turning missions that previously relied solely on brute force or stealth into coordinated efforts of unprecedented efficiency. The first encounter with Cerberus intelligence officers came later that day. They had been monitoring the Normandy's activities remotely and detected an anomalous energy signature consistent with the kind of raw power Ahsoka emanated. Shepard had anticipated their interest and allowed the officers to board under supervision, creating a controlled environment to gauge their response. Their leader, a woman with piercing eyes and a reputation for persuasion, approached Ahsoka with caution masked by confidence. "You are not from this galaxy," she stated bluntly. "And yet, your presence here has implications for our operations. The Alliance and Cerberus have conflicting goals, but your power, it is neither biotic nor technological. How can we leverage it?" Ahsoka's gaze was steady, her stance calm. "I am not here to be leveraged. I do not belong to any faction in this galaxy. My purpose is to understand, adapt, and contribute where I can without compromising my principles." The words were deliberate, her moral code as unyielding here as it had been across countless missions in her own universe. Cerberus officers exchanged glances, the subtle tension between opportunity and control palpable. Shepard intervened. "She is under my command while aboard this vessel. Her loyalty is to the Normandy, and she will operate according to mission protocols. Cerberus will not co-opt her for independent agendas." Shepard's tone was firm, authoritative, and Ahsoka understood that the balance of power had already shifted in her favor, not because she could dominate physically, but because the crew had recognized her competence and reliability. Later that evening, Ahsoka trained with Gurus and Miranda in a combat simulation designed to replicate a boarding scenario against collector forces. The holographic environment was complex, with multiple adversaries, shifting terrain, and overlapping energy fields. Ahsoka's dual lightsabers moved in perfect synchronization, deflecting incoming fire and redirecting attacks, while she guided crew members through cover and attack patterns. She incorporated the Force to sense the movement of simulated enemies before they could act, enhancing the squad's response times and precision. Each maneuver was a blend of instinct, experience, and adaptation, a testament to her ability to merge Star Wars combat philosophy with Mass Effect tactical simulation. Tali observed with fascination. "Your movement, it's like nothing we've ever seen. The way you integrate your abilities with our technology. It's almost like the Force is bending the simulation itself to your advantage." Ahsoka allowed herself a small nod. "It is not bending. It is observation, anticipation, and precise action. You have rules here, patterns. I simply read them." The following day, Ahsoka participated in her first mission briefing. The Normandy had received intelligence of a collector scout fleet in a nearby sector, and Shepard planned a reconnaissance and interdiction operation. Ahsoka listened intently, absorbing coordinates, predicted trajectories, and crew capabilities. She offered insights based on her experience in complex battlefields, noting patterns in enemy movement and suggesting potential points for disruption. Shepard recognized her input not as theoretical but actionable, giving her a role in tactical planning that was rarely granted to newcomers. During the mission, Ahsoka's capabilities were immediately tested. The Normandy approached the sector, and long-range sensors detected a collector vessel attempting to evade detection by using high-speed maneuvers through debris fields. Ahsoka's heightened perception, amplified by the Force, allowed her to identify the vessel's predicted path before it fully emerged on scanners. Her guidance helped the Normandy position itself advantageously, cutting off the enemy's escape and minimizing risk to the crew. When the ship's weapons fired, She assisted by subtly redirecting energy discharges using the Force, enhancing targeting precision without disrupting ship systems. On the bridge, Shepard glanced at her. "You're not just a passenger, are you?" "No," Ahsoka replied simply. "I am here to assist, to adapt, and to ensure we succeed without unnecessary loss." The first confrontation with enemy fighters further tested her adaptability. The collectors deployed small drones designed to disable ship systems, while the Normandy crew engaged with conventional weapons and biotic countermeasures. Ahsoka moved swiftly across the decks, using her lightsabers to intercept physical projectiles and redirect energy bursts. She could sense the biotic field surrounding the attackers, anticipating the direction and force of incoming attacks in a manner that even biotic-trained crew found extraordinary. By the end of the skirmish, the Normandy had neutralized the immediate threat with minimal damage, and the crew's perception of Ahsoka had shifted entirely from cautious curiosity to strategic necessity. Yet her presence also introduced unforeseen complications. While the Force amplified her awareness and precision, it interacted unpredictably with the Normandy's biotic amplifiers and energy shields. Minor energy feedback loops caused temporary disturbances in both her Force sensitivity and the ship's systems. She adapted quickly, learning to modulate her movements and energy flow to prevent further interference, but Shepard and engineering noted the anomaly. This was a reminder that even a warrior of her caliber needed time to fully integrate into an unfamiliar technological environment. By the end of the day, Ahsoka had earned the tentative trust of the Normandy crew. She had demonstrated competence, restraint, and adaptability, navigating a galaxy whose rules were alien, yet still finding ways to apply her abilities effectively. In quiet moments aboard the ship, she allowed herself reflection. She was far from home, caught in a galaxy on the brink of war, with threats she had never imagined. Yet she was not powerless, and she was not alone. The Normandy crew, though human and alien, flawed and unpredictable, had recognized her value. She stood at the observation deck again as the ship slipped through the void, the stars unfamiliar, but endlessly fascinating. The Force whispered of possibilities, of missions yet to come, of conflicts that would test not only her skill but her morality, her understanding of justice, and her ability to adapt principles formed in one galaxy to the challenges of another. Somewhere in the galaxy, choices were unfolding that she could influence. Each action she took aboard the Normandy would ripple through space, altering trajectories and destinies in ways she could only begin to perceive. Her training had begun, her integration had commenced, and the Normandy itself had become a new battlefield of adaptation, one where skill, morality, and strategic foresight would determine not only survival, but the fate of countless lives. Ahsoka Tano, former Jedi Padawan and seasoned warrior, had arrived in this universe unbroken, alert, and ready to prove that even across galaxies, she could navigate war, ethics, and power with unmatched precision. The next mission briefing on the Normandy was tense, even by standard measures. The intelligence reports had indicated a collector cell operating near the Perseus Veil, a sector notorious for its dense asteroid fields and unpredictable gravitational anomalies. Shepard's plan was cautious: approach the perimeter, identify enemy positions, and disrupt their operations without direct engagement if possible. For Ahsoka, this presented an entirely new challenge. In her galaxy, battles often involved direct combat with lightsabers, strategic positioning, and force manipulation. Here, the battlefield was three-dimensional on a massive scale, with ships moving faster than any vessel she had encountered before, and weapons whose energy signatures interacted with the Force in ways she could only begin to intuitively understand. Ahsoka's integration into the tactical planning session was met with mixed reactions. Gurus leaned back in his chair, skeptical, yet curious. "Shepard, you're seriously considering letting her advise on the deployment? She's, well, powerful, sure, but she's not trained in this tech." "She's not just powerful," Shepard countered. "She adapts, she anticipates, and she has tactical experience. You saw her in the simulations. Her insights could save lives out there." Ahsoka spoke then, her voice measured, her tone deliberate. I have observed your scanners, energy signatures, and the patterns of motion in your fleet simulations. I can predict likely enemy maneuvers within certain parameters. My abilities are not perfect in this technology-driven environment, but combined with your systems and crew coordination, we can minimize risk. Miranda raised an eyebrow, skeptical but intrigued. You're suggesting you can anticipate a technologically advanced enemy using the Force? How does that work against biotics or energy weapons? It is a matter of observing intent and energy patterns, Ahsoka explained. Every attack, every movement carries a signature. Even technology has rhythms, responses, and weaknesses. I can sense them. She gestured subtly with her hands, a motion almost imperceptible, but enough to show her awareness of the interplay between environment and energy. Shepard nodded. We'll give it a try. But you follow protocol. Your judgment supplements ours, not replaces it. The Normandy departed for the Perseus Veil under stealth protocols, cutting through hyperspace lanes that Ahsoka studied with careful fascination. The stars outside the viewport were alien yet captivating, each system potentially harboring life, threats, or both. For someone accustomed to Jedi navigation through hyperspace and planetary systems, the Mass Effect galaxy was a puzzle of technology, physics, and unknown variables. She adapted quickly, noting gravitational anomalies, asteroid clusters, and energy flows, all of which could be leveraged to the Normandy's advantage. Upon reaching the sector, sensors immediately picked up anomalies consistent with collector activity. Small craft were moving in irregular patterns, attempting to mask their approach with energy dampeners. Ahsoka's Force sensitivity allowed her to perceive subtle distortions in the field, minor vibrations in space-time that the sensors detected but could not fully interpret. She pointed them out to Shepard. They are attempting to remain unseen, but they leave traces in the flow of energy. If you adjust trajectory slightly, you can intercept without alerting them to our exact position. Gurus adjusted targeting as Ahsoka suggested, and the Normandy executed a slow, precise approach. When the collector ships finally became fully visible on the tactical holomap, their formations were already compromised by Ahsoka's guidance. Shepard observed her insight in real time and noted how her presence changed the engagement dynamic entirely. The first confrontation was subtle. The Normandy's weapons discharged against automated drones protecting the perimeter. Ahsoka moved along the corridor where tactical officers and engineers coordinated countermeasures, using her lightsabers to deflect stray energy surges and recalibrate malfunctioning consoles under her guidance. She sensed the flow of energy, predicting overloads and countering them before they could compromise systems. For the crew, this was extraordinary. She was not only a warrior, but a living interface, connecting with their technology in ways they had never considered. But the real test came when a collector scout launched a sudden ambush. Its craft darted unpredictably between asteroids, using biotic energy bursts to mask its approach. Ahsoka instinctively engaged, moving to the Normandy's secondary weapons console, her hands guiding targeting algorithms through intuitive motions. Her Force awareness extended to the ship itself, feeling the recoil of each cannon discharge, the shifting mass as the vessel maneuvered. The result was a seamless integration of organic perception and artificial technology. The scout was disabled before it could reach its target, neutralized with minimal risk to the Normandy and its crew. Miranda watched, astonished. I've seen plenty of competent operatives, but that's not human. That's not even biotic. That's something else entirely. Tali's voice was more measured, tinged with excitement. It's a form of adaptation I can only begin to understand. The way she senses, guides, and manipulates. Our systems respond to her presence, as if she were part of the architecture itself. Ahsoka, however, remained grounded, understanding the subtle balance of power. She did not allow ego to cloud judgment. Each success was a combination of observation, instinct, and adaptation to unfamiliar circumstances. She knew that the collectors were only a prelude to larger conflicts. Every engagement provided data. Every action informed the next step. Later, in debriefing, Shepard addressed her directly. You've changed how we approach engagements. Your insight into their tactics, the way you anticipate their movements, it's invaluable. But it also raises questions. How far will you go to achieve an objective? Ahsoka considered this carefully. My purpose is not victory at any cost. I act to protect life, to preserve order, and to minimize unnecessary suffering. That will guide my actions even here. Shepard nodded. The morality of Ahsoka's perspective was foreign but familiar, aligning with principles he had struggled to enforce in human and galactic contexts. Her presence challenged conventional norms, forcing the crew to consider outcomes beyond tactical victory, beyond immediate gain. That evening, Ahsoka found herself alone in the observation deck, watching the Perseus Veil fade behind the Normandy. The stars were alien, but the patterns of energy, motion, and consequence were universal. She could sense the subtle disturbances left by collector activity, the undercurrents of fear, aggression, and hope among the galaxy's civilizations. The Force whispered possibilities and dangers alike, and she understood that her journey aboard this ship was just beginning. Tomorrow, she would face more complex challenges, boarding missions, moral dilemmas, and conflicts where her principles would be tested. Yet she was not overwhelmed. Ahsoka Tano had survived betrayals, wars, and the constant temptation of the dark side. Here, in a galaxy governed by unfamiliar physics and technology, she would apply the same resilience, adaptability, and strategic insight. She was prepared not only to integrate, but to lead, to influence, and to protect the lives under her charge. In the quiet of the observation deck, she allowed herself a rare moment of reflection. This galaxy, while strange and dangerous, offered an opportunity. She could teach, learn, and influence, bridging the gap between mysticism and technology, between force and biotic energy, between morality and survival. And as the Normandy sailed on through the void, she felt the faint but unmistakable sense that she had arrived not by accident, but by design, an unseen thread of fate weaving her journey into the larger tapestry of this universe. The next mission brought Ahsoka into direct interaction with the political and operational complexities of the Mass Effect galaxy. Shepard had received word of an unregistered Cerberus operation in the Omega 4 relay sector, involving both human and alien mercenaries exploiting the region for personal gain. The objective was straightforward in Shepard's eyes: investigate, gather intelligence, and neutralize any threat to galactic stability. For Ahsoka, it was a test of her ability to navigate factions whose ethics were murky at best, whose allegiances were flexible, and whose strategies often depended on deception rather than honor. As the Normandy approached the relay, the crew briefed Ahsoka on the known details. The mercenaries had established a temporary base on a small rocky planet, fortified with automated defense systems and patrolled by biotic-enhanced soldiers. Shepard emphasized caution. This isn't just about firepower. Cerberus and their affiliates play political games. Sometimes, negotiation is the better option. Sometimes, brute force is unavoidable. Ahsoka listened carefully, analyzing the terrain, the enemy's capabilities, and potential points of entry. Her mind worked in layers. She visualized the battlefield in 3 dimensions, anticipating patrol routes, energy flow, and environmental hazards. Shepard watched her, recognizing that her strategic insight could provide a decisive advantage. He did not yet fully understand the limits of her abilities in this universe, but he trusted her judgment and adaptability. The landing team deployed near the perimeter under cloaked conditions. Ahsoka moved silently, her lightsabers folded at her side, her senses attuned to both the biotic and technological signals around her. Tali and Garrus covered the flanks, their weapons ready but restrained, knowing that Ahsoka's presence altered the dynamics of engagement. The Force allowed her to perceive subtle vibrations in the air, shifts in the energy field surrounding the mercenaries, and the potential for sudden ambushes. She whispered directions to Shepard, who coordinated the team's movements with precision, trusting her intuition as much as sensor readings. The first confrontation came when a patrol detected the Normandy team near a canyon ridge. Ahsoka acted immediately, using the Force to nudge the terrain slightly, causing loose rocks to tumble and obscure the patrol's line of sight. Her lightsabers flashed, cutting through metal restraints and disabling the patrol without lethal force. The rest of the team moved in unison, neutralizing threats efficiently and minimizing casualties. Shepard observed her blend of force manipulation, combat skill, and tactical foresight with increasing respect. She was not only powerful but profoundly adaptive, able to reconcile principles with effectiveness in ways few operatives could. Once the immediate threat was neutralized, Ahsoka proposed a path deeper into the mercenary compound. Their defensive layout is structured around predictable patterns. If we move here, we can access the communications hub and gather intelligence without triggering the full alarm. Shepard agreed, impressed with her strategic thinking. The team moved through narrow corridors and energy fields, encountering additional resistance, but Ahsoka's guidance allowed them to remain largely undetected. At the communications hub, Ahsoka worked alongside Tali to interface with the systems. While Tali handled technical bypasses, Ahsoka used the Force to sense the energy flow within the network, identifying hidden traps and automated countermeasures. The combination of her mystical insight and Tali's technical expertise allowed them to extract crucial data without alerting the rest of the base. Shepard reviewed the information. Cerberus had been supplying high-grade weapons to mercenary factions, destabilizing several local systems. The implications were significant, revealing a web of influence that could threaten galactic security if left unchecked. As the team prepared to exit, an alarm suddenly triggered, a delayed response mechanism designed to activate if communication networks were tampered with. The mercenaries mobilized rapidly, converging on the hub from multiple directions. Ahsoka moved with extraordinary precision, her lightsabers cutting through barricades and energy fields, her force abilities allowing her to anticipate enemy positions and movements. Gurus and Miranda adapted their tactics to complement her maneuvers, forming a dynamic triad that moved through the compound with lethal efficiency. During the firefight, a moral dilemma emerged. A group of mercenaries had taken civilians hostage, using them as human shields to slow the Normandy team's advance. Shepard was torn between neutralizing the threat quickly and preserving innocent lives. Ahsoka intervened, using the Force to subtly influence the energy fields and momentarily distract the mercenaries, allowing the civilians to escape without direct confrontation. Her actions preserved life without compromising the mission, a balance Shepard recognized as rare and invaluable in the harsh realities of galactic conflict. The mission concluded with minimal casualties and critical intelligence secured. Ahsoka's integration into Normandy operations was no longer tentative. She had proven her ability to navigate combat, technology, and ethical challenges in a universe alien to her own. The crew's perception shifted. She was not merely a powerful ally, but a strategic partner capable of influencing outcomes on multiple levels. Back on the Normandy, Shepard debriefed the team. Ahsoka's insight and abilities were pivotal. We need to consider how her presence can be leveraged for future operations without compromising her principles or our objectives. He looked at her. Your adaptability is remarkable, but I need to understand your limits. Are there situations where you would refuse to act, even if it means risking lives? Ahsoka met his gaze steadily. I will act to protect life and prevent unnecessary suffering, but I will not compromise my principles for expediency. That is the foundation of my choices, and it applies regardless of the universe I inhabit. Miranda studied her closely. So your moral code is flexible when the stakes demand it, but not negotiable in principle. Correct, Ahsoka replied. Efficiency without ethics is not strategy. It is destruction. That evening, Ahsoka meditated in the ship's observation deck, sensing the interplay between the Normandy, its crew, and the broader galactic currents. The Force revealed patterns of potential alliances, conflicts, and consequences that extended far beyond the immediate mission. She understood that her presence here would continue to influence the galaxy in unforeseen ways, not only through combat prowess, but through the ethical decisions she helped guide. As she reflected, a subtle vibration alerted her to an incoming message on the Normandy's secure channels. Cerberus had been monitoring the sector and was now aware of the intervention, but they were unsure how to proceed. Shepard considered his options carefully. Confront them directly, negotiate, or allow them to act under observation. Ahsoka's input was decisive. If you confront them directly, they will escalate. If you ignore them, they will spread instability. The optimal path is controlled engagement. Reveal our presence selectively, maintain initiative, and influence outcomes without unnecessary conflict. Shepard nodded. The plan was set, relying on Ahsoka's judgment, the crew's tactical acumen, and the Normandy's technological superiority. It was a delicate balance, one that required precision, foresight, and adaptability, qualities she had demonstrated repeatedly. In her private quarters, Ahsoka considered the broader implications. This galaxy was different, but it was still governed by principles she understood. The balance of power, the consequences of action and inaction, the responsibility that came with extraordinary ability. She had entered this universe through a rift beyond comprehension, but her purpose remained unchanged, to act decisively, ethically, and effectively, wherever her path took her. Tomorrow, she would face the consequences of her growing influence, as Cerberus began to respond and the Collector's activities intensified. Her abilities, principles, and strategic insight would be tested in ways that demanded not only mastery of combat, but also nuanced understanding of morality, loyalty, and interstellar politics. The Normandy, under Shepard's command, had become her battlefield, her laboratory, and her proving ground in equal measure. The morning aboard the Normandy carried a tension that was more than just the hum of engines or the occasional console alert. Shepard had scheduled a meeting with the senior officers to outline the next phase, a targeted strike against a Cerberus research station on the outskirts of the Omega for Relay Sector. The intelligence indicated the station was experimenting with synthetic biotic hybrids, a dangerous combination that could destabilize local star systems and produce unpredictable combatants. Ahsoka understood immediately that this mission would test her ability to integrate fully into both the tactical and moral frameworks of this galaxy. It was not just about combat, it was about influence, timing, and navigating alliances that were fluid, often treacherous, and frequently morally gray. As the Normandy approached the planet, Ahsoka reviewed the data alongside Tali. The station was built into a rocky outcrop, shielded by automated turrets and biotic-energized barriers. It had one primary access route, a heavily monitored docking bay, and a secondary infiltration route through maintenance shafts that Tali had mapped in holographic detail. Shepard and Miranda debated which approach would minimize risk while maximizing mission effectiveness. Ahsoka listened carefully, then offered a third option, simultaneous engagement on both fronts, using her abilities to coordinate timing and disrupt defenses from unexpected angles. Explain how this would work, Miranda prompted, her skepticism evident. The Force allows me to anticipate energy flows and movement patterns within the station, Ahsoka explained. I can coordinate your team's timing with minimal risk, creating openings that standard approaches would not provide. The defenders will be responding to perceived threats, but I can influence those responses subtly, without resorting to lethal action when unnecessary. Gurus nodded thoughtfully. So, you're saying we can hit them hard, fast, and precise, with minimal exposure, because she can read the room, basically? Ahsoka gave a small nod. Predict, adjust, and guide. Your weapons, biotics, and technological systems become extensions of coordinated effort. The operation began with a stealth approach. Ahsoka moved with remarkable speed through the docking bay, neutralizing security drones before they could alert the station. Her dual lightsabers flowed in a seamless dance, cutting power conduits and disabling automated turrets. Shepard coordinated the team, with Miranda and Garrus covering the flanks, while Tali hacked into the station systems to override doors and internal cameras. Every step was precise, every movement calculated, and yet there was an improvisational quality to Ahsoka's actions that allowed her to respond to unexpected variables instantly. Inside the station, the first confrontation occurred. A group of Cerberus scientists had activated biotic-enhanced guards to intercept the Normandy team. Ahsoka moved like a storm, her lightsabers deflecting energy discharges, while her Force-enhanced awareness allowed her to predict and counter attacks that could have overwhelmed the crew. Shepard and Miranda engaged the guards with disciplined gunfire, while Garrus provided suppressive fire and tactical guidance. The result was a highly coordinated assault in which the team neutralized the threat without unnecessary casualties. During the engagement, Ahsoka sensed a subtle but significant moral dilemma. One of the research teams had been coerced into participation, their loyalty manipulated through fear and threats to family on other worlds. Shepard and the crew were focused on neutralizing immediate threats, but Ahsoka's perspective expanded the scope. She guided Shepard to isolate the coerced personnel, providing a path for escape and protection without compromising the mission's objectives. Her intervention preserved life while maintaining operational effectiveness, a balance that Shepard recognized as exceptional. As the team moved deeper into the station, they discovered the core experimental lab. Here, Cerberus was actively manipulating synthetic and biotic energies to create hybrid combatants. The energy fields were unstable, creating hazardous conditions that threatened both the station and the surrounding sector. Ahsoka assessed the situation immediately. The energy flow is critical. If disrupted carelessly, it could trigger a cascade reaction, destroying the station and surrounding moons. Tali and Ahsoka collaborated to safely stabilize the energy conduits, using a combination of technical adjustments and subtle force influence. Ahsoka's ability to perceive and adjust energy patterns allowed the team to neutralize the hybrid experiments without triggering catastrophic feedback. The hybrids themselves were incapacitated without lethal force, demonstrating Ahsoka's capacity for controlled, principled intervention in a high-stakes scenario. The culmination of the mission occurred when a secondary alarm triggered, signaling a potential extraction attempt by Cerberus reinforcements. Ahsoka coordinated the team's defensive positions, using the Force to anticipate enemy entry points and influence movement patterns, allowing the Normandy crew to maintain control. Shepard deployed suppressive fire strategically, Miranda positioned herself for close-quarters combat, and Garrus provided overwatch. The combined effort neutralized the reinforcements, ensuring the station remained secure. After the mission, the Normandy returned to space, and Ahsoka took a moment to reflect in the observation deck. The Force revealed subtle ripples from the station's stabilization, showing potential consequences in neighboring systems. She understood that every action carried weight, and even successful interventions could have unforeseen ramifications. Yet she felt a sense of accomplishment. The mission had been executed efficiently, ethically, and with minimal loss of life. Shepard approached her quietly. "You've done more than I expected. Your insight into energy patterns and enemy behavior, it's invaluable. But I need to understand something. How do you decide when to act and when to hold back? We've seen it in practice, but the reasoning, it's not something we usually encounter." Ahsoka considered her words carefully. "I act to prevent unnecessary suffering and to maintain balance. Every action has consequences, and I weigh potential outcomes through observation, intuition, and principle. Power without understanding is reckless. Influence without responsibility is dangerous. That guides my decisions." Miranda, listening from a nearby console, added thoughtfully, "It's rare to find someone who combines skill, ethics, and foresight in equal measure. You're changing how we operate, whether you realize it or not." Ahsoka nodded. "I am adapting to your galaxy, learning its rules, and applying principles that are universal. Protect life, act with precision, and anticipate consequences." The day ended with Ahsoka meditating in the observation deck, the stars stretching across the void, alien yet familiar in their order and chaos. She felt the subtle currents of the Force interacting with the biotic fields of the crew, the Normandy, and the surrounding sectors. Each ripple represented potential alliances, conflicts, and decisions yet to be made. Her path was becoming clearer, not only to assist the Normandy in combat, but to serve as a guiding presence, a bridge between power and principle, technology and intuition, morality and necessity. The Normandy sensors detected the next anomaly almost immediately, an uncharted freighter drifting near a debris field at the edge of the terminus systems. The ship's energy signature was unusual, erratic fluctuations that suggested both biotic enhancements and unknown technology. Shepard convened the team in the briefing room, outlining the potential risks. It could be a salvage vessel, a rogue Cerberus experiment, or even a collector probe. We need intel first, engagement second. Caution is paramount. Ahsoka leaned forward, her senses already reaching through the Normandy's systems to perceive subtle energy patterns. She could feel the ship's internal structure, the flow of power, the latent tension in the artificial environment. Unlike the Normandy, this vessel was unfamiliar, chaotic, and potentially dangerous, but not incomprehensible. Gurus glanced at her skeptically. You're going to tell us we can read its intentions with what? Jedi intuition. Ahsoka tilted her head, the corners of her mouth tight with concentration. Not intuition alone. I perceive energy, movement, and intent. Technology produces patterns, even when masked or augmented. Combined with your scanners and tactics, we can predict behavior and potential vulnerabilities. Shepard nodded, trusting her judgment, though still cautious. In the past, even the most skilled biotics or tacticians had been caught off guard by collector unpredictability or Cerberus deception. Ahsoka's abilities offered something different, a bridge between instinct and technology, human and non-human, force and science. The Normandy approached the drifting freighter cautiously, cloaking systems partially engaged. Ahsoka guided the ship through the debris field, predicting gravitational microcurrents and hidden masses that could compromise stealth. As they closed, the vessel's energy spikes became more erratic, as though it sensed their approach. Ahsoka could feel the tension within the ship, the fluctuating energy signatures of the crew, the defenses, and whatever anomalies were concealed within the hull. Shepard led the boarding team in preparation. We enter cautiously. Tali and I will handle tech and security. Miranda will lead the initial entry team. Gurus will cover long range. And, Ahsoka, you'll guide us through this anomaly. Your call on engagement. Ahsoka nodded, her mind already synchronizing with the Normandy systems and the ship's external sensors. She moved first, stepping onto the boarding shuttle, her lightsabers folded but ready. The shuttle detached and maneuvered toward the freighter, energy shields activated against potential ambushes. Ahsoka's senses stretched ahead of them, mapping potential hazards and enemy positions before the team even landed. Upon boarding, the team was met with silence, unervingly so. The interior of the freighter was dimly lit, with corridors twisting unpredictably, machinery humming irregularly, and energy conduits fluctuating in intensity. Ahsoka sensed subtle dissonances, hidden systems, potential traps, and the presence of bioengineered occupants. She directed the team with measured authority, moving through the corridors with an ease that combined stealth and speed, her lightsabers slicing open sealed doors when necessary, minimizing noise and maintaining control. A squad of hybridized mercenaries suddenly emerged from a side corridor, their biotic enhancements creating an immediate threat. Ahsoka acted instantly, deflecting biotic energy with precise lightsaber strikes, using the Force to anticipate movements and create openings for Shepard, Miranda, and Garrus to engage. Tali hacked the freighter's automated defenses simultaneously, providing additional cover and tactical advantage. The team neutralized the threat efficiently, with Ahsoka guiding every step, balancing aggression and restraint. Deeper into the freighter, the boarding party encountered the core anomaly, a room filled with unstable hybrid energy constructs, a mixture of synthetic materials, biotic amplification devices, and alien technology. The energy surges were dangerous, capable of catastrophic failure if mishandled. Ahsoka assessed the situation immediately. This room is unstable. Direct interference could trigger a cascade reaction. We must stabilize the energy flow before engaging the core systems. Tali and Ahsoka worked in tandem, with Ahsoka using the Force to sense energy patterns, dampen unstable surges, and predict potential points of failure, while Tali applied technical skill to reprogram control interfaces. Shepard observed, impressed by her integration of mystical and scientific insight. Within moments, the energy constructs were stabilized, and the hybrid enhancements rendered inert, neutralizing the immediate threat. As the team secured the room, a moral dilemma emerged. A group of coerced researchers were present, trapped and frightened, yet essential to understanding the freighter's operations. Shepard considered the situation. Removing the researchers could compromise intelligence, leaving the hybrid project incomplete, but abandoning them would violate ethical standards. Ahsoka intervened subtly, using the Force to influence the environment just enough to protect the researchers without alerting the remaining hybrid systems or triggering defensive mechanisms. Her actions allowed the team to extract the researchers safely while preserving critical data. The Normandy team exfiltrated the freighter with minimal confrontation, the mission a testament to coordination, tactical insight, and ethical execution. Ahsoka's role was pivotal, not only in combat effectiveness, but in the preservation of life and the strategic guidance of the team. Shepard debriefed the team afterward. Ahsoka's contributions continue to redefine what's possible. Her integration of perception, anticipation, and ethical restraint sets a new standard for field operations. Miranda's voice was tinged with admiration. We've seen biotic and tech experts, but never someone who can unify them like that. She's changing how we think about tactical engagement entirely. Ahsoka remained focused, acknowledging praise, but not seeking it. Every mission has consequences. Success is measured not only by immediate results, but by the balance preserved, the lives protected, and the lessons learned. This freighter's capture is significant, but we must remain vigilant. Larger threats loom, and our actions ripple outward. In the following hours, the Normandy's crew analyzed the intelligence gathered from the freighter. The data revealed not only Cerberus operations, but connections to collector activities, hybrid experimentation, and covert influence networks across multiple systems. Ahsoka's insights into energy patterns and movement predictions allowed the crew to anticipate threats before they became critical, enhancing both operational efficiency and strategic planning. Ahsoka spent the evening meditating on the observation deck, sensing the currents of the Force intertwined with the technological and biotic flows surrounding the Normandy. Each ripple indicated potential conflicts, alliances, and moral choices awaiting the crew. She understood that her presence in this galaxy was becoming more than tactical. It was shaping outcomes in ways that extended far beyond immediate engagements. The ethical and strategic implications of her actions were as important as her combat prowess, and she embraced the responsibility fully. Shepard approached quietly. "You've done more than integrate. You've influenced how we approach risk, ethics, and strategy. How do you maintain focus in situations like this?" Ahsoka's gaze was steady, calm. Focus comes from understanding balance. Power without principle is dangerous. Strategy without foresight is short-sighted. Here, I blend perception with action, principle with necessity. That is how I maintain clarity, even in chaos. Miranda added thoughtfully, "You're teaching us without realizing it. Every mission, every intervention, it changes how we operate and how we think." Ahsoka nodded. "Then we are learning together. Your galaxy is different, but principles of responsibility, preservation, and anticipation are universal. Adaptation is not just survival, it is evolution in thought and action." As the Normandy moved away from the Perseus Veil, Ahsoka felt the subtle but undeniable presence of larger currents at work. Cerberus would respond, collectors would escalate, and new threats would emerge. But she also sensed opportunity, the potential to influence events ethically, to guide outcomes strategically, and to protect life across this unfamiliar galaxy. Her path aboard the Normandy was no longer temporary. She had become a cornerstone of the crew's operations, a bridge between mysticism and technology, and a force of both action and principle in a universe that desperately needed both. The next intelligence drop came from a location that even Shepard regarded with unease, a derelict Reaper vessel orbiting a barren moon in the Terminus systems. The report suggested that Cerberus agents had begun scavenging Reaper technology to accelerate their hybrid programs. Shepard gathered the team for a briefing that was unusually tense. The implications of Reaper tech in Cerberus hands were catastrophic. Ahsoka listened intently, her mind already racing through strategic approaches, potential ethical dilemmas, and the unique challenges posed by combining Force intuition with alien technology unlike anything in her own galaxy. She understood the stakes. Failure here could not only cost lives, but might destabilize entire star systems, altering the delicate balance in ways that were irreversible. As the Normandy approached the derelict, Ahsoka's awareness expanded. The Force, subtle and pervasive even across dimensions, seemed to resonate faintly with the Reaper technology, though in ways she could not fully interpret. Energy patterns fluctuated unpredictably, creating pockets of danger and opportunity. Shepard noted her concentration. "You're reading the ship?" Ahsoka turned slightly, her eyes reflecting calm focus. "Not reading it as a person or living being. I sense the flow of energy, the interaction between the ship systems, the potential points of failure, and areas where action can have maximum effect with minimum risk. It is different, but not inaccessible." Gurus and Tali exchanged a glance. Even they, experts in biotics, weapon systems, and alien technology, were impressed by the precision and insight she brought to the mission. Shepard outlined a plan. A small boarding party would infiltrate the derelict to secure or disable critical systems, while the Normandy maintained a standoff orbit. Ahsoka's role would be to coordinate and predict internal threats, guide extraction, and provide oversight in ways that combined her Force abilities with the team's tactical expertise. The boarding began under tense conditions. Zero visibility, unpredictable gravity shifts, and Reaper constructs lingering within the vessel made stealth a near impossibility. Ahsoka led the team with measured authority, moving through the corridors with her lightsabers folded but alert, sensing energy fluctuations, weak points in environmental systems, and potential ambushes before they occurred. Her presence altered the Normandy crew's perception. They no longer relied solely on sensors or tactics. They followed her guidance, integrating instinct with technological support. They reached the core chamber, where Cerberus operatives had already begun attempting to interface with Reaper systems. Energy arcs leapt unpredictably across the room. Biotic interference distorted sensor readings, and the operatives themselves were tense, fearful, and highly trained. Ahsoka stepped forward, using her Force connection to sense instability in the energy flows. She directed Shepard and Miranda to specific positions that would minimize exposure and maximize tactical advantage. Her lightsabers activated in a precise, defensive posture, not for attack, but to create control zones, deflect energy surges, and shield allies. A confrontation erupted when a squad of augmented Cerberus soldiers attempted a flanking maneuver. Ahsoka moved with unprecedented speed and awareness, using the Force to anticipate their path, subtly displacing the gravity of the chamber to disrupt their approach, and creating openings for Shepard and Gurus to neutralize the threat. Each movement was calculated, each decision weighed against potential collateral damage, demonstrating a mastery of situational awareness rarely seen outside her own universe. While the firefight continued, a moral dilemma emerged. The Cerberus technicians had been coerced into assisting the operation under threats of personal harm. Shepard focused on securing the Reaper interface, but Ahsoka sensed the ethical complexity. Eliminating the operatives outright would be efficient, but morally wrong. She intervened, subtly manipulating energy flows and distracting the assailants enough to allow the coerced individuals to retreat to a safer area. This prevented unnecessary loss of life without compromising the mission, a testament to her ability to balance ethics and operational effectiveness under extreme conditions. With the immediate threat neutralized, Ahsoka and Tali worked to stabilize the Reaper systems the Cerberus operatives had tampered with. Energy pulses threatened to trigger catastrophic failure, potentially collapsing sections of the vessel or even sending shockwaves into nearby orbital zones. Ahsoka used the Force to harmonize the energy fields, sensing unstable currents and redirecting them safely, while Tali applied technical overrides to reinforce the stabilization. Shepard monitored, impressed by her ability to merge intuitive perception with tangible technical outcomes. Once the core was secured, Ahsoka guided the team to an extraction point. Yet the vessel's residual defenses, influenced by Reaper technology, activated unexpectedly. Automated drones and environmental hazards posed immediate danger. Ahsoka anticipated each movement, directing the Normandy crew with split-second precision, combining telekinetic nudges with path predictions and timing cues. The team navigated the hazards with minimal casualties, the mission's success a direct result of her integration of force-guided strategy and tactical coordination. Back on the Normandy, the crew debriefed. Shepard recognized that Ahsoka's presence had transformed the mission from a high-risk intervention into a controlled, efficient operation. Without her, this would have been a bloodbath, he admitted. Miranda added, "She doesn't just fight. She anticipates, she protects, she guides." It's like having an entire tactical division operating on instinct and principle. Ahsoka, meditating in the observation deck later, felt the subtle ripple effects from the mission. The Reaper vessel, now inert, still emitted faint energy signatures that hinted at residual dangers. She understood that this galaxy operated under rules distinct from her own, but principles of balance, responsibility, and foresight transcended universes. Each mission, each choice, and each intervention had consequences that would resonate far beyond immediate engagements. She also reflected on the crew dynamics. Shepard had begun to treat her as a strategic equal, not simply an extraordinary combatant. Gurus and Miranda incorporated her guidance into tactical planning, recognizing her ability to foresee outcomes that conventional analysis could not predict. Even Tali, whose expertise in technology was unparalleled, acknowledged that Ahsoka's perception often highlighted considerations beyond algorithmic or mechanical calculation. The Normandy was not just a ship with exceptional crew. It had become a platform where force intuition, biotic potential, and technological mastery intersected in ways that could redefine interstellar strategy. Later, Ahsoka stood at the viewport, observing the barren moon below. The derelict Reaper vessel lay silent, a monument to the risks and consequences of unchecked ambition. She could sense the lingering currents, the faint echoes of past energy manipulations, and the potential for new threats to emerge from unexpected quarters. Yet there was also hope. Her presence had prevented catastrophe, preserved life, and ensured that critical intelligence remained under responsible stewardship. Shepard approached quietly. "You've changed the way we approach risk and planning. But I need to know, you're still learning about our galaxy, our rules. Do you see yourself as part of this crew long-term?" Ahsoka's gaze remained fixed on the moon. "I see my role as necessary, where I can prevent unnecessary suffering and guide outcomes responsibly. This crew, this ship, this galaxy, they present challenges unlike any I faced, but principles of balance, foresight, and protection are universal. My path is intertwined with theirs as long as those principles are honored." Miranda added, "It's rare to find someone who can navigate both combat and ethics with such clarity. You're teaching us more than we realize." Ahsoka's expression was calm, resolute. "Then we are learning together. In every universe, every mission, and every life affected by our choices, the responsibility to act wisely remains constant. We adapt, we protect, and we anticipate. That is the way to preserve balance, even here, far from the galaxy I once knew." As the Normandy moved into hyperspace toward its next objective, the currents of the Force and the unpredictable tides of interstellar politics intertwined around Ahsoka, guiding her path. She understood that future missions would test not only her combat skill, but also her moral clarity, strategic insight, and adaptability in a universe that was alien yet deeply connected to the principles she upheld. Her journey aboard the Normandy was far from complete, and the galaxy awaited the consequences of her presence with anticipation and uncertainty. The next assignment arrived with a subtle urgency that only Shepard could convey without panic. Intelligence from Allied systems indicated that a Cerberus research facility on the outskirts of the Omega for sector had begun experimenting with a combination of biotic amplification and synthetic intelligence. The potential applications were devastating. Soldiers with augmented abilities, guided by AI capable of independent tactical decision-making, with loyalty to Cerberus encoded into their neural pathways. Shepard convened the Normandy senior officers for a briefing, emphasizing the stakes. If they succeed here, entire colonies could be destabilized, and the balance in this sector could shift irreversibly. Ahsoka listened intently, her mind already analyzing the variables: environmental hazards, energy flow, potential adversaries, and the ethical dilemmas inherent in neutralizing the threat without unnecessary loss of life. The Normandy approached the planet orbiting the research facility. Ahsoka extended her awareness, sensing the latent energy currents within the facility, noting where biotic fields overlapped with synthetic systems. The Force revealed subtle anomalies, fluctuating energy patterns that indicated both instability and opportunity. Ahsoka could feel tension in the corridors, the anticipation of those inside, and the mechanical rhythms of the facility itself. She spoke to Shepard calmly. The defenses are layered not just physically, but energetically. Any breach must account for both. There is a rhythm here, a flow we can exploit without triggering catastrophic retaliation. Shepard gave her the lead on infiltration strategy. You'll guide us. Use your insight to coordinate team movements, anticipate threats, and protect civilians if possible. Everyone else will follow your lead. Ahsoka nodded, feeling the weight of responsibility, but also the clarity that came from understanding the energy around her. She moved first, lightsabers sheathed but ready, the Force extending her awareness through the structure. Every corridor, every door, every junction pulsed with potential danger, yet also with points of leverage. Inside, the team encountered automated defense systems, turrets, biotic disruptors, and energy fields designed to incapacitate intruders. Ahsoka navigated these with a combination of speed, anticipation, and intuition, guiding the Normandy crew along safe paths while neutralizing threats non-lethally when possible. Her lightsabers deflected energy blasts. Her Force-enhanced agility allowed her to move through hazards that would have trapped ordinary operatives, and her perception revealed weak points in enemy deployment. Shepard, Miranda, Gurus, and Tali worked in concert, following her cues, their combined expertise amplifying the effectiveness of her strategy. The deeper they moved, the more complex the facility became. Biotic amplification chambers and AI-linked neural interfaces created corridors of unpredictable energy surges. Ahsoka sensed that a misstep could trigger massive feedback, potentially harming the team or destroying the facility prematurely. Caution, she warned. We must synchronize our movements. One misaligned step could cascade into disaster. Let the energy guide you, not force your path. Shepard nodded, and the team adjusted their pace, moving with a fluidity that combined stealth, precision, and instinct. At the heart of the facility, they encountered the first true opposition, a squad of Cerberus soldiers integrated with biotic amplification implants and AI-assisted targeting. Their reflexes and decision-making were unnaturally fast, a dangerous combination. Ahsoka assessed the situation instantly, noting the energy patterns generated by the implants and the AI-guided coordination between the soldiers. Using her lightsabers and Force abilities, she created controlled zones of disruption, deflecting biotic attacks and altering trajectories to open vulnerabilities. Shepard and Miranda engaged strategically, while Gurus provided long-range suppression. Tali hacked environmental systems to further destabilize the adversary's advantage. Even as they neutralized the immediate threat, a moral complication arose. Several Cerberus technicians were present, coerced into participation. Shepard's focus remained tactical, but Ahsoka extended her awareness to their fear and hesitation. Using the Force, she subtly influenced the environment, adjusting pressure points, energy surges, and pathways to shield the technicians and provide an avenue of escape without endangering the team or mission objectives. This allowed the coerced personnel to flee, preserving life while maintaining operational success. The team then discovered the core experiment, a neural interface combining biotic energy with AI logic, designed to enhance combatants beyond normal human or alien limits. The energy flux was unstable, threatening to overload the facility and cause planetary damage. Ahsoka collaborated with Tali to stabilize the system. She used the Force to sense and modulate energy patterns, counteracting feedback loops, while Tali applied technical overrides. Their combined efforts prevented catastrophe, neutralized the biotic AI hybrid threat, and allowed the facility to be safely contained for analysis. As the Normandy crew extracted, Cerberus reinforcements attempted to intercept, using advanced drones and booby-trapped corridors. Ahsoka anticipated their strategies, coordinating team movement with impeccable timing and predicting points of engagement. Her ability to merge Force perception with tactical oversight allowed the Normandy team to navigate hazards efficiently, neutralize incoming threats, and maintain the integrity of the extraction. Each decision was calculated, minimizing risk while maximizing mission success. After the operation, the team reflected on the ethical and tactical lessons. Shepard recognized the value of Ahsoka's unique perspective. She integrated moral clarity with operational efficiency, merging instinct and analysis in a way that redefined conventional strategy. "Your insight isn't just useful," Shepard admitted. "It's transformative. We're learning to think differently because of you." Ahsoka meditated quietly in the observation deck later, feeling the residual energy from the mission. The currents of biotic and synthetic energy intermingled with the Force in subtle, almost imperceptible ways. She realized that her presence was altering the Normandy's operational dynamics, not just tactically but philosophically. Each intervention carried ripples that extended beyond immediate outcomes, influencing decisions, alliances, and the ethical framework within which the crew operated. She considered the future. Cerberus would undoubtedly escalate its operations, combining Reaper remnants, biotic enhancements, and synthetic intelligence in ways designed to outmatch even the most capable crews. The Normandy would face challenges that required not only technical skill, but also strategic foresight and moral integrity. Ahsoka's role would not merely be that of a combatant. She was becoming a moral compass, a tactical guide, and a bridge between instinctual insight and technological mastery. Shepard joined her again, this time in quiet observation of the sector below. "You're shaping how we approach threats. But I have to ask, how do you manage the moral weight of these missions? You're not just fighting, you're making life and death decisions constantly." Ahsoka's expression was calm but firm. "Each action carries consequence. I weigh potential outcomes, seek to minimize harm, and act when necessary. The mission is never just about victory. It is about balance, responsibility, and foresight. That clarity guides my choices, even when stakes are high and options are limited." Miranda added thoughtfully from behind, "You're teaching us without trying. Your perspective changes how we operate, how we anticipate outcomes, and how we weigh decisions. It's revolutionary." Ahsoka nodded. "Then we are learning together. Your galaxy is new to me, but principles of awareness, anticipation, and ethical action remain universal. Adaptation is not only survival, it is evolution in thought and action." As the Normandy moved away from the facility, Ahsoka sensed the subtle currents of future challenges. Cerberus would continue to innovate. The Collectors remained an unpredictable threat, and new dangers were already emerging from the shadows. Her role aboard the Normandy was evolving. She was no longer simply an outsider or consultant, but an integral force shaping the crew's decisions, strategies, and moral compass. The galaxy awaited her influence, uncertain of the full extent of the consequences that would unfold. But the Normandy was stronger, wiser, and more cohesive with her presence. The Normandy had barely exited the Omega 4 sector when reports came in of a high-value target. A rogue Cerberus cell had established a hidden base on the industrial moon of Ilium, experimenting with a hybrid of biotic and cybernetic augmentation designed to produce elite enforcers capable of destabilizing planetary governments. Shepard convened the team immediately, emphasizing the stakes. "This operation isn't just tactical, it's strategic. If this technology proliferates, colonies across the Terminus systems will face threats we can't contain conventionally." Ahsoka, already attuned to the Force currents around the mission area, studied the readings, her senses detecting fluctuations and anomalies beyond the capability of the Normandy's instruments. The facility itself emitted subtle, shifting energy patterns that suggested both biotic enhancement and adaptive AI defenses, creating a dynamic and highly dangerous environment. Ahsoka briefed the team before the landing party descended. The base is not static. Its energy flows and biotic currents change depending on internal activity. Every corridor, every junction, every access point has variable risk. We must synchronize movement, anticipate threats, and minimize exposure to unstable energy fields. This is not just infiltration, it is precision engagement guided by prediction. Shepard nodded, recognizing the depth of her assessment. Gurus and Miranda listened closely, aware that Ahsoka's combination of instinct, experience, and force sensitivity would dictate the success of the mission. The boarding commenced under a cloak of stealth, the Normandy holding orbit to minimize detection. Ahsoka moved first, her lightsabers sheathed but ready, sensing both the mechanical and biotic systems that dominated the facility. She guided the team through narrow corridors, identifying weak points in security and predicting where enemies would converge. Her awareness extended beyond the physical, allowing her to perceive the intent and focus of both human and cybernetic operatives. Tali and Garrus followed her cues, disabling automated turrets and neutralizing AI-controlled defenses with precision. Miranda prepared to engage any direct threats, her tactical expertise complementing Ahsoka's intuitive guidance. Inside the core laboratory, the team encountered the hybridized enforcers, soldiers augmented with biotic amplifiers and neural interface technology that allowed them to react faster than human reflexes alone. Ahsoka anticipated their approach, moving with extraordinary speed to intercept the initial wave. She deflected biotic attacks with precise lightsaber maneuvers while using the Force to subtly redirect kinetic energy, creating openings for Shepard and Miranda to neutralize targets efficiently. Gurus provided suppressive fire, while Tali manipulated environmental systems to destabilize the hybrid's coordination. Each action was synchronized through Ahsoka's guidance, turning the encounter into a controlled engagement rather than chaotic combat. A moral dilemma emerged as the team discovered several coerced scientists operating the augmentation systems. Shepard's focus remained on neutralizing the immediate threat, but Ahsoka perceived the scientists' fear and hesitation. Using the Force, she subtly influenced the environment, providing protection and pathways for escape without alerting the hybrid enforcers or compromising the mission. This allowed the scientists to flee safely while preserving vital intelligence about Cerberus operations and hybrid technology. Ahsoka's intervention demonstrated the balance of tactical efficiency with ethical responsibility, a principle she consistently applied throughout her service aboard the Normandy. With the core threat neutralized, the team turned to the facility's energy conduits, which were destabilizing due to the hybrid's integration with biotic amplifiers. Ahsoka coordinated with Tali to stabilize the systems, using her Force sensitivity to detect fluctuations and prevent catastrophic feedback. The team observed as energy pulses were harmonized, systems stabilized, and the potential for planetary damage averted. Shepard noted, without Ahsoka, this would have been a disaster. Her guidance transformed a high-risk engagement into a successful, controlled operation. As the team prepared to extract, Cerberus reinforcements attempted a last-ditch assault, deploying advanced drones and AI-controlled sentries. Ahsoka anticipated their strategy, positioning the team to counter the assault efficiently. Her lightsabers deflected incoming fire, while the Force subtly manipulated environmental factors to disrupt enemy coordination. Gurus and Miranda executed targeted strikes. Tali disabled remaining AI systems, and Shepard led the extraction, all synchronized by Ahsoka's predictive oversight. The mission concluded with minimal casualties and maximum strategic gain. During debriefing, Shepard emphasized the impact of Ahsoka's presence. Her ability to anticipate outcomes, balance ethical considerations, and guide operational decisions has redefined our approach to high-risk missions. She is more than an asset. She's a strategic force multiplier. Miranda added, she doesn't just fight, She teaches us how to think differently, to anticipate, and to act with precision and conscience. Ahsoka meditated on the observation deck afterward, sensing residual energy from the facility and the broader currents of the galaxy. She understood that Cerberus would continue to innovate, combining biotic augmentation, AI integration, and hybrid technologies to challenge stability across the terminus systems. Her presence aboard the Normandy was no longer auxiliary. It had become central to the crew's operational, ethical, and strategic framework. Each mission carried consequences beyond immediate tactical outcomes, influencing alliances, morale, and ethical precedent in a galaxy facing relentless threats. Shepard joined her in quiet observation. "You've changed how we approach risk, strategy, and morality. But I have to ask, how do you manage the constant tension between effectiveness and ethics?" Ahsoka's expression was calm, resolute. "Each choice carries weight. I act with foresight, weighing consequences and seeking balance. Victory without responsibility is hollow. In every action, I consider both immediate outcomes and long-term impact. That clarity guides my decisions, even in the most volatile situations." Miranda added, "You're reshaping our entire operational philosophy. Your influence goes beyond combat. It affects how we think, plan, and even how we consider the lives involved." Ahsoka nodded. "Then we learn together. Principles of balance, foresight, and ethical responsibility are universal, regardless of the galaxy. Adaptation is not just survival. It is evolution in thought, strategy, and action." The Normandy moved out of Ilium's orbit, the crew reflecting on the operation's success and the challenges ahead. Cerberus would escalate, collectors remained a constant threat, and new dangers lurked in the unexplored regions of space. Yet with Ahsoka guiding the crew through moral, tactical, and strategic challenges, the Normandy was better prepared to face whatever emerged. Her role had evolved from an extraordinary outsider to an integral force shaping the galaxy's future through foresight, wisdom, and unparalleled skill. The Normandy's next mission came through encrypted channels, a distress signal from a remote human colony under siege by a faction of rogue collectors who had been experimenting with Reaper technology in secret. The colony's infrastructure was barely holding, and the population faced imminent annihilation. Shepard convened the team immediately, outlining the stakes. This mission would require precision, strategy, and moral clarity to prevent both civilian casualties and the uncontrolled proliferation of dangerous technology. Ahsoka studied the reports, feeling the Force ripple subtly with tension, fear, and desperation emanating from the colony and its attackers. Her mind raced, evaluating possible courses of action, anticipating enemy movements, and calculating potential collateral damage. Upon arrival, the Normandy sensors revealed that the collectors had fortified the colony with makeshift turrets, biotic barriers, and Reaper-derived synthetic troops. Shepard's usual approach would have been a direct strike, but Ahsoka insisted on a hybrid strategy that combined stealth, diversion, and precise intervention. "We need to disrupt their control networks before engagement," she explained. "A frontal assault will be costly and unpredictable. Use the terrain, use energy currents, and use the Force where possible. This is not just about defeating them, it's about protecting life and restoring balance." Shepard nodded, trusting her judgment completely. Ahsoka led a small insertion team to infiltrate the outskirts of the colony. Her awareness of energy flows, both technological and biotic, allowed her to navigate through security fields undetected. Every corridor and open area she entered, she analyzed for potential hazards, weak points, and escape routes. She directed Gurus and Tali to deploy tactical systems, while Miranda prepared to neutralize high-threat targets. Each movement was synchronized with Ahsoka's perception of enemy patterns and energy disruptions, creating a fluid, almost preordained sequence of strategic maneuvers. The team reached the central facility, where the rogue collectors had begun converting civilians into hybridized combatants using Reaper tech. The energy signatures were volatile, fluctuating unpredictably as the conversion process continued. Ahsoka's lightsabers remained sheathed but ready, her Force sensitivity guiding her through the unstable environment. She directed the team to contain the process, neutralize the hybrids non-lethally when possible, and evacuate civilians efficiently. Shepard followed her lead, recognizing the subtle but critical impact of her foresight in every decision. As the team engaged the Collector's enhanced troops, Ahsoka demonstrated an unparalleled balance of combat prowess and strategic intuition. She anticipated enemy attacks, deflected energy blasts with precise lightsaber movements, and used the Force to manipulate environmental factors to disrupt their coordination. Gurus provided sharpshooting support, Miranda engaged with tactical precision, and Tali manipulated energy systems to destabilize the enemy's defensive measures. Each action was amplified by Ahsoka's guidance, turning what could have been chaotic combat into a controlled, highly effective operation. A moral complication arose when they discovered a group of converted civilians nearing irreversible transformation. Shepard's focus was on neutralizing the Collectors, but Ahsoka sensed the ethical imperative. Failure to intervene here would result in permanent loss of innocent lives. Using the Force, she subtly manipulated energy flows and environmental factors to create a safe extraction path, allowing civilians to escape while limiting exposure to combat zones. The team followed her cues, prioritizing rescue over aggression without compromising mission objectives. The central antagonist, a Collector enhanced with advanced biotic amplification, emerged as the final obstacle. Its abilities were formidable, reacting to every tactical move with AI-enhanced precision. Ahsoka assessed its patterns, predicting attack sequences and guiding the team in a coordinated counteroffensive. Shepard engaged with calculated strikes, Miranda used biotic suppression techniques, and Gurus targeted critical weak points. Ahsoka's lightsabers and Force manipulation created openings, deflected attacks, and shielded allies, culminating in a confrontation where strategy, intuition, and ethics were inseparable from combat success. After neutralizing the threat, the Normandy crew worked to secure the colony's energy systems, which were unstable due to Collector tampering. Ahsoka collaborated with Tali to stabilize reactors and prevent further environmental hazards, using her Force sensitivity to detect fluctuations and ensure controlled energy flow. Civilians were evacuated, and the mission concluded with minimal casualties and maximum preservation of life and infrastructure. Shepard recognized that Ahsoka's presence had transformed the outcome. Her unique combination of moral clarity, strategic foresight, and Force-guided insight had turned a potential disaster into a decisive victory. In the aftermath, the Normandy crew reflected on the journey. Ahsoka's integration into the team had evolved beyond tactical support. She had become a moral compass, a strategic visionary, and a stabilizing influence on both crew decisions and mission outcomes. Each operation had tested the boundaries of her abilities, challenged her ethical framework, and reinforced the universal principles she had carried from her own galaxy. Shepard acknowledged that the success of their missions now depended not only on firepower and strategy, but also on the insights and foresight Ahsoka brought to every engagement. Ahsoka, meditating in the observation deck afterward, felt the currents of the galaxy ripple with the consequences of their actions. Cerberus, the Collectors, and other emerging threats would continue to challenge stability across multiple sectors. Yet, her role aboard the Normandy had crystallized. She was not merely a participant, but a guiding force, shaping outcomes, preserving life, and ensuring that the crew's actions aligned with principles of responsibility, foresight, and ethical integrity. Shepard joined her in silent reflection, watching distant stars streak past the viewport. "You've changed the way we operate, the way we think, and the way we act. I don't think we could have succeeded in any of these missions without your guidance." Ahsoka met his gaze, calm but resolute. "The galaxy is unpredictable, filled with dangers that cannot always be anticipated. My role is to harmonize awareness, strategy, and ethics to protect life and guide outcomes. Victory without responsibility is meaningless." Miranda added, "You're teaching us without trying. Your presence reshapes not just tactics, but philosophy, ethics, and decision-making." Ahsoka nodded, aware that her influence extended beyond individual missions to the very framework of the Normandy's operations. "Then we are learning together. principles of foresight, balance, and ethical action are universal. Adaptation is evolution, not just survival, but understanding and influencing outcomes responsibly. As the Normandy traveled toward new sectors, the crew knew that their journey was far from over. Cerberus would escalate. Collectors remained a persistent threat, and unknown dangers loomed on the horizon. Yet with Ahsoka guiding them through tactical, moral, and strategic challenges, the Normandy was stronger, wiser, and more prepared than ever. Her journey in this galaxy was far from over, and the universe would continue to feel the impact of her presence, shaping the course of events with wisdom, skill, and foresight. The galaxy had changed with Ahsoka Tano aboard the Normandy, and she had adapted in turn, merging the principles of the Force with the demands of interstellar warfare, morality, and responsibility. The crew, once ordinary soldiers, were now guided by intuition and insight that transcended conventional understanding, creating a new paradigm for survival, strategy, and ethical action in a universe defined by complexity and uncertainty. The missions had tested every limit of the Normandy crew and Ahsoka Tano, pushing them into scenarios where ethics, strategy, and survival intersected in ways no single framework could anticipate. Ahsoka's presence had reshaped not only the outcomes of individual operations, but the philosophical approach of every crew member. Shepard recognized that traditional tactics, biotic ingenuity, and advanced technology were insufficient without the perspective and foresight she provided. Her Force sensitivity allowed the team to perceive energy flows, anticipate enemy actions, and navigate ethical dilemmas with a clarity unavailable through conventional sensors or AI predictions. In every engagement, from destabilizing Cerberus experiments to countering rogue collector forces, Ahsoka acted as a bridge between instinct, moral responsibility, and operational excellence. The moral weight of their actions was perhaps the most profound shift. Ahsoka never compromised her principles, even when it would have simplified combat or increased tactical advantage. Civilians were protected, coerced operatives were spared when possible, and potential collateral damage was always mitigated. The crew began to internalize this perspective, altering how decisions were made both in the field and in planning operations. Ethical reasoning became inseparable from tactical execution, a paradigm that would influence Normandy missions long after the immediate threats were neutralized. At the same time, Ahsoka had grown in her understanding of the Mass Effect galaxy. She adapted her Force-based intuition to a universe governed by biotic energy, synthetic intelligence, and advanced technology, learning to harmonize these elements without losing her core identity. The Normandy, in turn, had adapted to her presence, developing a synergy between instinct, calculation, and ethical consideration. Together, they faced threats that neither could confront alone, each complementing the other's strengths and offsetting weaknesses in ways that enhanced survival and mission success. As the Normandy continued its voyage through unexplored sectors, Ahsoka contemplated her choices. She could attempt to return to her own galaxy, seeking familiar stars and battles, yet she felt a responsibility to the crew who had come to rely on her insight, strategy, and moral guidance. Shepard had become more than an ally. The captain was a partner in shaping a new path forward, a path that combined the principles of the Force with the tactical imperatives of interstellar warfare. In this galaxy, Ahsoka had discovered that true influence came not from raw power alone, but from the integration of wisdom, ethics, and decisive action. Ultimately, the presence of Ahsoka Tano aboard the Normandy demonstrated that a single individual, guided by principle, foresight, and unparalleled skill, could alter the course of events on a galactic scale. She had introduced a new standard for operational effectiveness, merging instinct, strategy, and moral clarity. Her impact would resonate not only in the outcomes of specific missions, but in the evolution of a Normandy crew, shaping how they approach threats, alliances, and responsibilities in a universe that demanded constant vigilance and adaptability. The galaxy, ever unpredictable, would continue to present challenges, but with Ahsoka's guidance, the Normandy was better equipped to meet them. Lessons learned here would ripple through time, influencing the balance of power, ethical reasoning, and strategic thought in ways that neither Shepard nor the crew could have foreseen when she first appeared through the rift between worlds. Her integration into the Mass Effect universe had created not just a temporary advantage, but a permanent shift in understanding, proving that even in a universe defined by technology, biotics, and complex politics, the principles of the Force could provide guidance, clarity, and decisive impact. Ahsoka looked out at the stars, feeling both the vastness of this galaxy and the weight of responsibility she had assumed. Her journey was far from over, yet she knew that her choices aboard the Normandy would echo across countless systems, shaping destinies in ways both seen and unseen. In this convergence of worlds, she had discovered a new purpose: to act as both guardian and guide, integrating her knowledge, skills, and principles to influence events with precision and conscience. The Normandy had changed with her presence, and she had changed with the galaxy. Together, they were prepared to confront whatever new threats awaited, carrying the lessons of balance, foresight, and ethical action into every conflict yet to come.